Oh, sorry, I had to sneeze. Good morning. Not a way to start. Not a way to start. Good morning. Good morning. It is Tuesday, May 13th, 2025, and it is 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. I am broadcasting live from Austin, Texas. My name is Keith. I am and have been a professional developer for over 30 years. My, how the time flies. And I created the stream as a hangout for people who are in the job market. I am not currently in the job market. I have a day job where I manage a coding school where people upskill and learn to code in a variety of environments. That's what I was looking for. And get organized here. Ready to take on the day. And, the hard part about looking for a job is staying consistent, staying focused. It's a grind. And on this stream, we do two things. We look at the job posting numbers to kind of see what the job trends are in tech. And we look at news that may or may not affect our industry. And let's just jump into it. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, there is a QR code there on the screen. Always looking to grow my network. And if you have any questions about working in tech, about getting a job in tech, about the like, I've had a variety of experience over the last 30 years, and I probably have a thing or two to say about that. So feel free to throw a question in the chat, and I'm happy to chase the rabbit hole wherever it goes. Let's talk about job numbers. All right, so what we're looking at here is three graphs. The first graph is the last 7 days of job postings for JavaScript developers on Indeed.com. I use Indeed.com because they have between 15 and 20% of all the job postings. It is not complete in terms of the overall number of job postings, but it is good enough to give us a statistical trend line, which is what we're kind of looking for. And if we look in the last 7 days, we see a slight downtick on that trend line. More instructive would be to look back the last 6 months, which is the second one. We see that over the last 6 months, there's definitely been a downward trend. The first of the year started right at this dip here in between Christmas and New Year's. Things dropped off, and then starting the first of the year, we got off to a good start, and then everything kind of flattened out. And then post tariffs, we saw a significant dip and rebound. We saw a rebound in the markets yesterday because of the backing off of the Chinese tariffs. Not a removal, but a backing off at least. But the job market is a trailing indicator. It's going to, while it's welcome news that there won't be 100+% tariff on goods coming in from China, companies still have to make decisions about the kind of stuff they're ordering. And then that takes time to filter down. And companies who are deciding to hire also try to look out months in advance to predict what their needs are going to be, what the runway is going to be like for their company. And all that is very murky because of the chaos that is happening at the governmental level. If we look at the last year, which will help us filter out kind of any seasonal differences, we can see that a year ago this time, there were almost twice as many jobs being posted. As we slide into the summer, things typically get a little bit lower. Hopefully that does not happen here. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. But we're winding up. We're in the middle of May right now. I've got a kid in high school and a kid in college. My college child finished their finals last week, and my son in high school, he graduates at the end of the month in just a couple of weeks. And then we're going to take some time the first week in June to get away for a little trip before both my kids' summer jobs kick in. So as we slide into summer, you're going to see more of that. People start taking vacations. All that kind of affects hiring. Well, we'll wait until she gets back before we start our interview process. But wait, who's going to be out? Let's figure this out. Do we absolutely need the person right now, or can it wait until everybody gets back from their, trip? Those kind of natural human things that sort of filter in. Hopefully, again, we don't see that, because we don't want these numbers to go down any more than they already are. I have been getting a more granular slices of the data since the first of the year. And so what you can see here is a global posting for JavaScript developers in person would be the blue line, and remote would be the red line. We'll see, similar to what we saw before. We started at the beginning of the year, it's pretty low, bouncing off of New Year's, and nice little spike there. Then the inauguration happens. Everything's kind of flat through the chaos. Then a couple of weeks ago, the tariffs really start to kick in, and we see that slide. As they're starting to be removed, we're climbing out of that dip, but there's no signs right now that it is going to continue going up and up and up. We'll just have to wait and see. But these other two graphs, I split up that information by experience level. So if you are just trying to break in and get your first job, or maybe you had an internship, or your first job, and now you're in the market looking for another one, that would be the blue line, these entry-level job postings. The red line is for mid-level developers, might have 2 to 3 years experience, 4 years experience. And then the senior level might be anywhere from like 4 years to 30 plus years, depending on the kind of work that you've done and where your focus in your career has been. And then this graph over here shows the same breakdowns, but for remote work. This is more important, of course, because wherever you are, you can apply for the remote work, which isn't necessarily the case for in person. There might be some cities that are hiring like crazy that are adding to this thing, but if you don't live in that city, that doesn't help you. I've had a number of our students who are in relatively small towns, towns with 150,000 people, not a, whistle stop, not a, 3 stop signs in a DQ size town, so decent sized town, but still not a lot of tech work. But maybe they went to college, maybe they picked up some skills and they can get a remote job. Or maybe like a lot of people during the pandemic, they were like, I'm piecing out of the big cities where all this stuff is spreading, and I'm going to a smaller town because I can live and work remotely. Maybe that's where you've been. All right, let's check out the news, see what is in the news. What's in the news? I check out the news feed that's on LinkedIn. It's a good news feed that's updated fairly quickly, fairly often. And let's see what it says. Speaking of trips, Memorial Day travelers rethink their plans. Americans are scaling back their Memorial Day travel plans as economic uncertainty persists, and many are planning road trips as gas prices drop. In fact, 87% of travelers are projected to hit the road over the holiday, a 3.1% jump from last year and a 20-year high, according to AAA. Flying will likely see an increase too, though 1.7% projected rise to 3.61 million traveler pales in comparison. Yeah, that road trip that I was saying we're going to be taking in June is it's just that it'll be a road trip. We're just going to the coast. Just a quick getaway. We have not been to the coast in years. We used to go to the coast every other year when the kids were young. They like the beach. My wife and I are not really beach people. 30 minutes, a couple of hours at the beach, and I'm kind of done with the beach for the whole vacation. But kids, not so much. They want to be in the pool or the beach. If there's a beach available, they are all over it. So, as a parent, sometimes you got to do that. But again, on vacation with my wife and I, we're not beach people. We like to go and see things, not lay around. So yeah, gas prices going down. That's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing for individuals. Not a bad thing at all. Apple wants to leverage artificial intelligence to extend the iPhone battery life, Bloomberg reports, citing anonymous sources. The AI-powered battery management mode is in the works that would take stock of people's use trends, then forecast how much power to pull or conserve. The new technology, part of September expected iOS 19 update, will launch before the even pricier iPhone 17's debut. Optimizing battery life will be important since the 17 is expected to be thinner with a smaller battery. The headline caught me off guard a little bit. And really, a lot of times when they say artificial intelligence, what they mean is machine learning. And my guess is that this is really more on that end of the spectrum. It's just learning from your usage and then making predictions based on that. But they caught me off guard because, one of the biggest criticisms about artificial intelligence is the power usage. It's just a huge power sucker. And so the idea that people are going to be adding these AI models locally on their phone was going to be, going to kill the battery on the phone. And Apple has always been sensitive to their battery requirements. Going back to the flash days, if you remember that. So, 1 second. Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, the thing about machine learning is it can micromanage these small things. It can do 1,000, 1,000,000 tests. It can learn a lot from it. But generally speaking, it's better at picking up patterns that are consistent, finding rhythms, finding patterns. While we like to think of ourselves as creatures of habit, in the grand scheme, we are not. Our individual phone use is probably fairly chaotic. So I don't know. A little suspicious. This feels like it might just be a press release to get the words AI and Apple together out in the press and make people feel more comfortable. Oh, they're going to have that thinner battery in the new one, but they've optimized it with AI, so it's not going to kill the battery life of my battery. We'll see. I'm not an iPhone user. I've never been an iPhone user. I'm an avid Mac user, but I am not an iPhone fan. Got nothing against it. Most of my friends they're all Mac people, iOS people, but not for me. Not for me. CrowdStrike CEO gifts $1 billion in shares. I have not been following this CrowdStrike CEO thing, but George Kurtz has ceded much of his voting power in the cybersecurity company he founded by gifting more than $1 billion worth of its stock to undisclosed recipients. A move unusual in its speed for the tech world leaves him with a 2.5% share in the firm, down from 31% in 2022. It has even resulted in the elimination of CrowdStrike's supervoting stock, which he held. Shares in the company have risen 90% from their August low after the software update caused a catastrophic global IT failure. Yeah, that was a big story. I was not following it very closely, though. It's interesting. Somebody here reporting at Bloomberg. Dylan Sloan and I have been able to trace about half of the gifted shares to four trusts, which have reported selling over $1.2 billion. The other shares are unaccounted for. Interesting. It's not usual that people give up power once they have it, especially if they've got the super voting stock. Interesting. Home selling season flops. The U.S. housing market is struggling to rebound. The Wall Street Journal characterizes this year's spring selling season as a dud. Even with the inventory of homes for sale climbing, demand remains weak. Would-be homebuyers are discouraged, given elevated mortgage rates lingering at around 6.5%, prolonged economic uncertainty, and depleted consumer confidence. And while the home prices are on the rise in the Northeast and the Midwest, they're either falling or remain flat. I want to get out of home loan and do some work on the house. It's been had the house for 16 years, and I haven't done any major updates to it. I've been wanting to. The house is paid off, but at this interest rate, I don't know. I say that, but when we bought our first house in 1997, my wife and I bought our first house 1997, the summer of 1997. Yeah, I think that's right. And we had a interest rate of 7.25. Mainly because we had bad credit. Mainly because we had bad credit. She was just getting out of college. I had done some, bad money managing in my 20s. And it took us a long time to kind of get that stuff straightened out. But so I've paid more than 6.5%, but still, I got an 800 credit score right now. I should be able to get better than that, but I don't think so. Not for a home improvement loan. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna have 2 kids in college in the fall, so until I have a clear runway past that, I'm not going to be throwing a lot of money around these days. Okay, that's all the LinkedIn news. Let's see what we got on Google News. If you have any questions about working in tech, about the job market, feel free to throw them into the chat. I'm happy to chat about any and all of that stuff. U.S. inflation mild ahead of expected jump from tariffs. Yeah, the headlines this morning were like, "Yeah, it's at the lowest point in 4 years." I'm like, "Yeah, but it doesn't factor in this tariff nonsense." So It's a lagging indicator, so that's not much of a headline to pay attention to. Nissan's cutting jobs. Stock market today. Dow opens lower. Dow hit by the United Health plunge. Stocks mixed. I am not a stock market guy. I don't pay too much attention to it. I've got very little of my personal money in the market, probably 35%. Yeah. Very conservative in that way. U.S. egg prices fall for the first time in months, but remain near record highs. That Newark airport stuff is scary. Another reason people are feeling a little uncomfortable about flying these days. Yeah. Down the motor. And the EV tax credit may be going away, but Rivian EVs could still qualify in 2026. Republican bill aims to end the clean energy boom. House GOP looks to gut Biden's climate incentives in a mega bill proposal. Rite Aid. We don't have Rite Aids in Texas, or at least in my part of Texas. A lot of Walgreens, a lot of CVS, but no Rite Aids. But Walgreens has been struggling. That's 2 days ago. Jerome Powell may finally grant Trump his interest rate wish thanks to a China deal. Traders see Fed cutting rates just twice in 2025. We want to see those rate cuts. We definitely want to see those rate cuts. Where are we at? Main Street optimism dropped as U.S.-China trade tensions ramped in April. Yep, all of this stuff. Why aren't Americans filling the manufacturing jobs we already have? United unveils stunning next-generation Polaris cabins with caviar service and much more. Caviar service. Caviar service. Let's see what's going on in the internet. Hackers arrested. How Google became the internet giant at the center of the government crackdown. It's the 800-pound gorilla. It has been for a decade. The internet can't resist the conclave, the real thing. 7 days ago. Come on, give me my fresh news. I don't want 7-day-old news. 5-day-old news. California lawmakers weighing bills to lower the cost of high-speed internet. Internet outages. This is the old news. Give me some new news. I want some new news. The newest of news. AI startup Perplexity's valuation surges to $14 billion in new funding round. $14 billion. How do you pay that back? at $20 a month subscriptions. How do you pay that back? David Sachs. Not a fan of that guy. Not a fan. U.S. to boost Saudi AI chip access, even if China issues linger. Anthropic co-founder Jared Kaplan is coming to TechCrunch sessions. 12 hours ago. The deep fakes are here. Stop them cold. Okay. Trump reportedly fires head of U.S. Copyright Office after release of AI report. I saw this story. This is, he's going through and clearing house. But it was just sort of weird where, she came out and she's like, well, yeah, I mean, if you take a bunch of people's content without permission and you don't pay them for it and you create a new product based on it, there's a copyright infringement. I mean, that's ultimately up to the courts to decide. But if you're in charge of the Copyright Office, I'm having a hard time seeing how you might come down on the other side of that. British Airways used AI to cut flight delays, but long waits still outpace pre-pandemic levels. No. As Klarna flips from AI first to hiring people again, a new landmark survey reveals most AI projects fail to deliver. Yeah. Finally, you got, we're for 2 years now, we've been hearing about how AI is going to take all the jobs. And if you believe the hype, which many CEOs want to because, it means more money in their bottom line, a bunch of them sort of jumped on the bandwagon. Now, we're seeing, it's been enough time that we're starting to see the results of that experiment. And that's what it was. It was an experiment. You're trying something new. That's good as a business. You want to experiment. You want to look for ways to optimize, to increase your efficiency. But these tools, if you've ever spent any time playing around with these tools, you know that there's some things that they're good at and some things they're not good at. I use AI coding tools every day, and I've been doing that long enough now that I'm not as surprised anymore about things it can do and things it can't do. I'll ask it for a thing, and it'll give it to me. In the next minute, I'll ask for a thing. It'll give me something that doesn't work, and I'm like, maybe I didn't communicate it right. Let me try a different way of communicating it. And then it gives me something else that still doesn't work. I'm starting to get the feeling maybe this is a thing it's not very good at yet. So let's try a couple of more attacks. If not, I'm just going to have to code that by hand. That's fine. Now I know it's shortened this kind of development, but then this development over here, still got to do it the old way. Got to rub two brain cells together to solve this problem because AI is not good at that problem yet. Maybe it will be in a year. Maybe it will be in 2 weeks when they release a new model. But right now, part of your job as an AI-enabled employee is to understand what it's good at and cut down the spinning wheels trying to get it to do something it's not good at. All right, here we go. We're down to it. We're down to the end. My name is Keith. If you joined late, I broadcast on Twitch, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time from Austin, Texas. And if you have not connected with me on LinkedIn, feel free to do that. The The QR code is on the screen. I will be back in 23 hours and 30 minutes to hang out with you while you get out those job applications. In the meantime and in between time, have